Over the next few days, I will be sharing with you a few interviews I've conducted surrounding starting a small business here in Grenada. Up first is Sherwin Sandy. Sherwin started catering with his mom as a teenager. Now he has Sandy's Catering and Farm based in Wapo in St. Andrew. In this interview, Sherwin talks about the many challenges he's had with trying to secure a loan to get his business going and in the hope of realizing his dream of having, guess what? An animal hotel. Listen in to our conversation.
So we are in Guapo now, and we would have actually combined the farming aspect to the business where the catering actually hinges on the farming. So the basis now is the farming, and through the farming then we get to do caterings for events and so on. So whenever we have to do a catering, our menus are 100% done based on the ingredients we have on the farm.
Okay, so you have that farm and that business. How did you afford the farm? Because you're talking about starting a business here. How were you able to afford the farm? Was it family handed down or did you have to go to the bank? How did you afford the farm?
I met my wife and I told her the vision that I have in terms of going in the magnitude of the kind of farming that I want to get involved in. She said, hey, I'm done with that. And my mother-in-law said, hey, do you believe people will come all the way up to Guapo for that kind of idea? I said, yeah, it's a perfect place, man. And we went to the bank 14 years ago. Mm-hmm. And we went through every financial institution in Grenada, including those recent ones, like Fast Cash and those kind of places and so on, the new places that will give out monies and so on. And everybody turned us down. Every single body turned us down. We did business proposals. We did business plans. The business plans that we did was based on how we were operating at the time. And they said, hey, Mr. Sandy, everybody, what was interesting, every financial institution said the exact same statement. Mr. Sandy, your case is a special case. And we cannot, the financial structure of our business does not cover your special case. And I was like, really? Really?
How did you deal with that? How did you deal with that?
It was very frustrating, eh? Mm-hmm. It was very frustrating because to see how it got so frustrating to the point where the thought of giving up came. Mm-hmm. My wife was like, boy, you sure we can make it with that? I said, hey, I'm not giving up. At one point, I went to a shop once and I met a guy there. And he said, hey, you make this? I said, yes, I'm one of the persons responsible. And he said, I like your packaging, eh? Do you think you can export this? I said, yeah, more than. He said, hey, I'm talking about large scale, you know. I said, yes, I can handle that, man. He said, hey, I can get your chips into 3 different Caribbean countries outside of Grenada.
Yes.
And I said, yeah. He said, I don't want anything from it. I'll set up all the logistics for you and everything, the transaction, and I give you everything. He said, I'm not looking for anything. Whatever happens, it's between you and the different countries. It so happened that I went to the bank the week after, and I said to the bank, I'm getting a gig. I said, hey, I need some money now to make my processing share big. Bank told me, Mr. Sandy, we're not in a position to do that for you because you don't have the requirements.
You have me crying here, okay?
You want to cry now? Imagine how my wife felt.
I know.
We were at the point where the contract, we had to make 20,000 packets of chips every single week. The cost of one packet of chips is $1.25 US. At the end of 1 week, I can pay off a loan at the bank of $40,000 cash. Oh my gosh. And we were turned down. Because why? The bank says it's not the requirements that what you have is not what we're looking for, so you cannot get the loan. I told my wife, I said, hey, listen this, I'm going to make it. I said, with or without a bank, I'm going to make it. And every single day, I walk from Guapo to Monlong, from Guapo to Mount Horn, from Guapo to Upper St. John and back, selling chips. Then at one point, I got there's some people who came to live in the community from Canada, and they had a bicycle. And when they were leaving to go back to Canada, the gentleman came across by me with his family and he said, hey, we have a bicycle over there. We wouldn't really need it to go back to Canada anymore. We would like you to have it. And from that point, I use my bicycle and I go down the mountains into Grenville and back with a cylinder on my back, transporting the Ruby's gas on that bicycle. Once every week, I do that. And I process the chips. I take my bicycle and I go as far as Grenada, doing deliveries with chips. Go to Sauterres, doing deliveries. Go to St. Mark's, do
with the bicycle?
With my bicycle. Go through Closier, go through Belvedere, selling chips with my bicycle. At one point, I had an accident and I fell over. I actually went over a bridge in Closier with the bicycle full of chips on my back.
Oh
I was going to do a delivery and I went over the bridge. And I never give up. I keep pressing, I keep pressing. But the banks, trust me, it was very, 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 it's a long road with getting the kind of support you need from financial institutions and so on. And the thing is, the bank, what was very confusing for me at the time is the fact that what we were doing, the proposal that we went to the bank with, the business plan, it was based on our present operating structure. So I was selling the chips, what we were selling the chips for on a weekly basis. This is the platform we use to build a business plan. So it was not something where we said, hey, this is what we foresee will happen. At the end of the first 6 months, when we started packaging the chips, people started calling. After the first day, actually, people started calling. A gentleman called me after I dropped off some chips for a guy in Beauregard. And from Beauregard, I went down Lower Capital, Dutch Grove area, and I went up to Maribor. And from Maribor, I went into Grenville, took a bus, and went back home. And Miss Mitchell, you wouldn't believe, as I got home, a gentleman called and he said, hey, is that the guy who just dropped off some chips at my shop? I said, yes. He said, well, sir, the chips is already finished. Yes. And I need more. And that's where the chips took off. Eventually, I went to supermarkets with it. Some of them said, hey, we already have chips, and the chips, we don't want it because we had bad experiences. I said, hey, listen, you haven't tried my chips. Don't turn your back on my chips because you haven't tried my chips. I said, my chips is not like everybody else's chips. They said, well, is it locally grown? I said, yes, it is locally done, but it's done with a difference. I said, my chips.
What's your difference? Just to remind listeners.
Our chips go through 7 different procedures. 7 different procedures. And everybody, even agro processors, are asking me if I'm crazy. I said, no, I'm not crazy. But if the people need a product that is good and they need results, we are here to give them results, and we did just that. The chips go through 7 different procedures. Out of the 7, we have 3 different procedures that requires heating system. So there's a high heat system, there's a low heat system, and there is a cooking process. So we do a deep frying process with the chips. So the chips is deep fat fried. After it is deep fat fried, it goes through 2 different procedures to remove the excess fat from it. So when you get a packet of chips from us,
it's not oily,
it's not greasy.
Soaked. Yeah.
You don't taste no oil. After 1 month, 2 months, the chips is as fresh as if we just do it. Then we have an aging process. The aging process requires the chips to go through flavoring. So it takes the flavor it needs, and then the flavor is removed from it. So in the package, you would not see heavy flavoring in the bags or excess flavoring in the bag. Just what the chips need, that's what it gets. And we package from there. And after we package, the chips can go for 3 months. We told somebody that at one time, and they was like, hey, Mr. Sandy, you sure about that? I say, hey, pin this on your shop and leave it there. I'll pay you for it. After 3 months, take it out, eat it. You don't have to pay for it. And the person was like, I believe you. I said, no, I want you to try because I want you to see for yourself so you can tell your customers. We have actually sold chips we did a delivery to a shop once, and we did cassava chips. But in that area, people were not accustomed to, they did not know you can use cassava to make chips. Mm-hmm. And so the guy said, after 1 week, he said, don't worry, I'll try it. I'll introduce it to them. He got some sold there, but it's not selling as fast as the plantain chips in his area. So he said, I don't think I'll take the cassava anymore. I said, you don't worry yourself, man. So I took back the cassava chips from him after 2 months, and I replaced it with plantain. Of course, the plantain will sell very fast.
Yeah, because everybody knows plantain. Yeah,
exactly. And I took that same packet of chips and sent it to the US. And the customer rated the chips, and it was not chips made the day before. The point I'm making is the lifespan, the shelf life of the chips is as good as fresh, even after 3 months.
Okay,
so what we say is not,
go ahead,
it's not like far-fetched. It's just the reality of what we do.
Okay, so you're in Guapo. Yes. You have the land and you're able to do that because it's from family, right?
Yes, it's generation handed down.
Right, great. The bank refused you, you pursued, you persevered. Now you're making chips and you're selling in different shops. Are you in any supermarkets right now?
Yes, we have Foodland, Food Fair, and CTEC as supermarkets. Marketing board sells our chips as well at the different outlets, including the Delhi and the TAMCC.
Okay.
Then we also have some schools on board with us.
Nice.
One of the main schools we have on board is the St. Joseph Convent in Grenville. Nice. And also we have Bolio RC School with us as well. You understand? And apart from that, there's a couple small shops around the island that has the chips. And we're before the pandemic, we were in negotiating stage with getting the chips into Carriacou with schools and supermarkets.
Okay. So let's see. You talked about getting it into different islands. Were you able to do that, or?
No, we weren't, because our present operating facility is not capable enough to handle.
I wanted to cry.
And we lost that. We lost that. Yeah,
I know you would. You would.
And the thing is, what hurt me the most is, had we gotten that loan at the time to expand so that we can export the chips to those 3 Caribbean countries, we would have been able to employ 100+ employees, permanent staff, within 3 months. After 2 years, we would have been able to employ 300+ staff. After 2 years.
And this is providing employment, which we need.
And I'm not talking about part-time staff. I'm talking about permanent.
I get it, Mr. Sandy. This is what
and
we
between
need, especially
that, between that, we can employ part-time staff as well.
Especially at a time like now, your business needs that injection of funds to grow, because you are producing something that can be exported and of high quality, representing our country in other islands. Definitely. And even far-fetched and further along.
We have had people from Afghanistan taking our chips back to their country. People from Jordan in Israel taking our chips back to their country. Germany, England, Canada. Our chips have gotten to Canada through a neighbor. And when the chips first got to Canada, the people actually did their own advertisement for us,
If you were to get, how much would you need right now to get to be bigger? Like, we're just talking here. How much money would you need? What a loan would look like?
Okay, so I can break this up for you. This full scope of the project that we are hoping to get on stream here would take us $1.8 million.
Okay, all right.
That's the full scope of the project. That's with the rooms and the animal facilities and so on. That's a full scope, right? But that can be done in phases. And the first phase of that aspect would take us to almost $80,000.
Okay.
And that would cover the processing aspect of the business. So that will cover with the processing of the chips, the making of the flour and the breads and so on, and catering. So the food concept of the business, that $80,000, that will cover that in terms of getting the facility to where it should be.
Will you consider going back to a financial institution at this time now to expand?
Well, we have always been in, we have always been going to financial institutions because right at present, as we speak, we are in negotiation with Huggins to get their tourists. Huggins is responsible for the cruise ships and so on that comes into the country. What we are doing now with Huggins is to ensure that our facility is state of the art in terms of having accommodation for the guests when they come here. So we are in the negotiating stage to actually go into that kind of concept with Huggins, right? And the bank is still dragging their feet.
Why? Did they give you a reason?
All I keep saying
not
is
meeting the requirements and yada,
right.
yada, yada.
That's it. That has been always
what
the
are
issue.
the requirements? Did they give you a list? What are the requirements?
Right. So they said, Mr. Sandy, well, you're not employed. I said, no, I'm not employed.
But you're self-employed.
No, that's not employment.
Okay.
Yeah, self-employment is not employment. So that's the whole crux of the matter, and that's worldwide. That's a worldwide concept. If you're self-employed, you're unemployed. Okay. And so they said, hey, the system that we have to work with, you need a job. And I said, really? Even after I showed them all my documentations and so on. So they said, because you don't have a job, you have to 100% secure the loan. So I have to come up with, so like I've said, if I need the $80,000 to do the processing share, I have to come up with $80,000 to give the bank to secure the loan. I said, but if I have $80,000, why would I come to you?
Yeah.
Do you understand me?
Yes.
So I then asked, on one occasion, I asked one of the financial institutions, I said, hey, is it my monies does not have value and yours have it? That I have to give you my $2,000 so that you can give me $2,000? I said, no, man, that doesn't make any sense. Oh, Mr. Sandy, well, you need us. I said, oh, yeah, I need you, but at the same time, I'm not stupid. You know, but that's how it is. That's how it is. That's how it is. And it's kind of scary. There is hardly any kind of a concept.
Yeah. Did you consider using the landing guapo as security? Or would they accept that?
Right. So on one occasion, one set of people said, hey, the only kind of security we would use outside of cash security is the lands. I said, but you have a list. And on your list, you said a vehicle can be used, equipment can be used, machinery can be used. I don't want to use lands. I want to use equipment, machineries. I have those things, and those things can cover the loan and more. I did. One time, one of the loans representative came on the farm. I said, well, Mr. Sandy, let's see what you have as security. And I showed him all the equipment and machinery that we have. And one machine that we have on the farm here is a biogas digester, and that could cover the amount of money that we were asking for twice. You know what the guy did? He went back to his representatives, the people who have to make the decision whether or not to give Mr. Sandy the loan, and he lied to them.
That's making an assumption here.
No, I'm telling you, no. I'm seriously. What I'm saying to you. Listen, this whatever we experience, whatever I say is my experience, and this is exactly what happened. He lied to the people. He misrepresented us, and we did not. The loan was not approved. I got a phone call, Mr. Sandy. I'm sorry to tell you, but the loan is not approved.
But why would he misrepresent you?
And I said, why the loan was not approved? Oh, this what you had for security cannot cover the loan. I said, you're kidding me? And then I told the gentleman, I said, hey, listen to me. Look at all the machines I have here. I said, one machine could cover the loan, and I gave you 4.
This is frustrating.
He said, no, Mr. Sandy.
And I know
only 2.
This is frustrating. You are not the only person wanting to start a business, which could actually help our country. I'm repeating it, which can act, because I know other people who are struggling to start businesses as well. And they are meeting the same blockages by financial institutions. Granted, I understand they need to cover themselves in the event because lots of business go under, they fold.
Right.
That's something that is known. We understand that.
Yes.
From your experience, what would you suggest, if you could, to the government to help small men as yourself and small women as myself wanting to start our own businesses? What would you suggest?
Okay. Now, I can answer you in two ways.
Mm-hmm.
Firstly, I would say this, right? In recent years, maybe about 5 years ago, we would have got some assistance through the government.
Okay.
And we got some assistance through the government in the sense where we got some equipment and so on for the farm,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And they had this project for farmers assisting, it's a small grant.
Mm-hmm.
It was not a lot of money, right? But at the same time, we got help, and it did help us a long way. You understand me?
Mm-hmm.
And we also received some help. We got assistance from the government in 3 different ways. Where my farm is concerned, I'm speaking about myself now, where my farm is concerned. We got assistance from the government in 3 different ways. And I mean, I thank them for that a great deal. So sometimes when people say, oh, the government is not helping farmers, I tend to retaliate a little because we got help through farming from the government. And we got a small loan from, well, through the same government with the Small Business Development Fund with GDB.
Okay.
And that again is another drama, but we did get some assistance there, right? But to answer your question now, in terms of what advice can be given, because of our experience, right, I can say that in order to help small businesses, you must have people who have a passion to gainfully employ people. That's the whole crux of the matter. If the people who are in those institutions for change does not have a passion for what they are doing, it will not make any sense. So the people who are in the offices, in the like, for example, in the Small Business Development Fund area, that represents the government. Now, if these people does not have a passion to assist small businesses, we as small business operators or people who venture into small business or even wanting to go into business, it would take us a very long way to get there. Because, for example, in my case, how could you misrepresent somebody you say you want to help by misinformation? When you know for a fact, if you present those items to a committee, they will reject it. How you could tell me at the end of the day you are willing to help small businesses? Are you willing to help small businesses, or you want to help small business go further under? Because at one point, when I got the monies I got from GDB, they were very adamant to tell me how to spend the money. I said, listen, the loan is my loan, one. Yes, I understand the fact that you have to guide the process. I said, the monies I ask you for, the purpose for these monies, it will be used for those purposes. I said, but you cannot tell me how to spend the money. The monies will be spent as needs be. They said, Mr. Sandy, you're buying too much items in small quantity. I said, hey, listen, you're not running my business. If my business needs to be operated in a manner that I can pay you back these monies, it must be spent according to how I see it. At one point, the guy said to me, he said, Mr. Sandy, you're operating the business hand to mouth. I said, take a trip on my farm and you'll see. And the guy came on my farm three years after. 3 years after he showed up on my farm. He said, Mr. Sandy, what? I didn't know you had all this on your farm. I said, hey, that's the same hand-to-mouth business, man. That's the same hand-to-mouth business. So at the end of the day, my fundamental concept is, and my primary factor, the people in those areas for change should be people who have a passion to see change. Because if these monies are there are money available to assist small business operators, farmers, name it. And people are sitting on those funds. in some cases, funds had to be had to send back to the donors because it was not used up in the qualified time. You understand me? So if you have a passion to see change, you will push for that. People are being paid and they are not working. Because I don't understand how you tell me somebody present a document to you and you cut the document in half, knowing that the person will not get the loan. Knowing that, and that's my experience. And I have other persons who have shared similar experiences where going to get loans are concerned. You understand? So it's not a case where, so let's suppose the guy did not like me or the lady did not like me, whoever did not like me. Let's suppose it's just my experience. But when it involves other people sharing the same experiences, then you get to understand the problem is not the people who operate in these small businesses or want to go into small business operation, but the people who are handling these funds and documentations for people to get access to funds. So unless that barrier is not removed, then we will still be spinning top in mud.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Sandy. Your experience must shadow those of others, I am pretty sure. And your fortitude, your perseverance, I respect. And I look forward to coming and visit your farm.
Well, we are, like I've said before, we will welcome anybody who wants to be welcome on the farm. We do that.
And I'm looking forward to the animal hotel. Okay, this is exciting for me.
Just. But the thing is, listeners, we have people who have already made bookings for rooms 4 years ago.
Okay.
People have actually made bookings for rooms 4 years ago. From the time I told them the concept of the business, they said, hey, as soon as you have the first room ready, it's mine.
Yes, that's something I would enjoy. Although I'm a city girl, but whatever. Anyhow,
There are a lot of people, you see, that's a purpose, that's the whole purpose of the business. There are a lot of people who live city life.
And they want an experience.
Could you imagine?
Oh, yes.
A child came to my farm once and said they have never seen a pig before. Somebody who lives in Grenada have never seen a pig before.
Okay, it's possible.
The very first time they have seen a pig is on my farm. Could you imagine that? You understand? So that's the whole concept with the business, and I'm very serious and passionate about the employment aspect of it, because I know for a fact that we can reduce the employment rate in Grenada through this business because of the diversity of the business. Everything hinges on everything. Everything needs everything with our business.
Everything feeds
exactly.
The other.
And so in every aspect, we need employment for that. We need staffing for those areas. You understand me? So that's why I really believe that with this business coming on stream 100%, there are a lot of things that can happen in Grenada here.
Okay.
Because and I'm not even, and listeners, I'm not even speaking or looking at it from an export market.
You're going at a local.
On a local market, just the local market, we can employ a lot. Hundreds of staff can be employed with that concept of the business. And if we're thinking about the export aspect, we would have staffing. Employment would be reduced, one, directly and indirectly. Directly meaning the direct operation of the farm, we would have staffing for that. And indirectly, we will have to network with farmers. And the networking with these farmers, they will have to employ people to operate.
Yes, because they have to produce and help.
They have to do mass production.
Yeah.
And with the mass production, one farmer cannot mass produce to supply us. You understand me? They would need staffing on their property. Whether it is 1 acre or 10 acres, 15 acres, they would need staffing to work on their farm to produce the things that we need.
What is the acreage of Guapo, the farm in Guapo?
At present, we operate on 2 acres. At present. Yeah, we operate on 2 acres, but I mean, the magnitude of the business requires more, right? And so, and like I've said, that's just locally. But if we're looking at the export concept of it, I mean, the amount of acres we would need to cover that. So that's why I'm saying we don't really need to buy more lands in terms of spreading the business.
Networking.
We have farmers who already have lands. All you need to do is increase your staff, your workforce. Once you increase your workforce, then you can meet our demands. You meet our demands, people get work. And people get work, people are paid, everybody benefits.
Thank you for viewing Serrano Mitchell Wells. Please like, comment, and share. I am Serrano Mitchell. Have a good one.